welcome to the Bayonne Public Advocate Political Roundtable. Let me introduce the panel of people that we have, starting to my right, Mickey Shemin of the Bayonne Evening Star Telegram.
Good evening.
Elizabeth Mohammed, community activist and member of the Bayonne Public Advocate.
How are you?
And Laura DePinto, also community education activist and member of the Bayonne Public Advocate.
Hi, everyone.
And I am Neil Barton, founder of the Bayonne Public Advocate. Issue 1, education. One of the questions that was the biggest surprise each candidate during my interviews seemed to be the question about education. To recap that question, the public education in Bayonne is the largest outlay of property tax dollars at approximately 50%. The average cost to taxpayers is over $3,700 per year. There are at least 2 elementary schools failing to achieve 1 or more annual yearly performance indicators, and the high school SAT scores are well below the state average. How do you think the candidates answered the question that you yourself wrote, Laura DePinto?
I was very surprised that it seemed to be a very secondary issue for most of the candidates. There was some dodging around. Actually, Mr. Smith took some offline time to talk to me about it a little bit, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But I was rather surprised at Mr. Conahan's response. It certainly was very telling of his position on education in our town. And as I say, as such a large outlay of the taxpayers' dollars, you know, you would like a cost-effective and higher education. And we're really, for the money we put out, we're really not getting what we're paying for here.
Yeah, and just to summarize a couple things, I know, Mickey, you didn't see all of them, but you know, Mr. Kowski said he would go into every school as he did in the past. I believe Mr. Kiki said he would hold the administration accountable. Mr. Smith said he would hold the administration accountable. I believe Mr. Sloan said that as well. Did he not? I don't remember.
Yeah.
And the only change in the positions was Mr. Conahan, who thought that there were no issues with the education system as it is right now. He felt that it was the issue of the changing demographics of the parents and not of the school system itself. Do you agree with that?
Well, Mr. Conahan, as you know, is a pretty plain-spoken guy, and he tells you what he thinks.
Yes. Which many of them were fairly plain-spoken in our interviews.
Yeah. The question is, did any of them actually come up with a plan to reduce that, other than say they're going to hold the administration accountable?
No.
No.
They're
So they know it's a problem, they just don't know how to.
They didn't even know it was a problem.
Yeah, I got the impression it was like a secondary issue. They were kind of caught off.
The property tax
yes,
portion of the Board of Education
they
budget
knew
is a big part.
They knew that was a big part, but what they didn't know was the flip side. They didn't understand or know about the education deficit issues. They didn't know that we weren't performing as well as maybe they thought we had, or maybe they hadn't even thought about it. And that seemed to be the surprise.
Yeah.
But Mr. Conahan is just being himself. And when he said about what he said about the change in demographics, it's true. And it's not reflected in the educational system. Just look at our history, the way how it's taught. It's very Western. And here you have a very mixed, very diverse bunch.
Which is our second.
Different than when I went.
It is our second issue.
If you listen to the history, you would think they're all brown and dumb. And we did nothing. We didn't discover anything. We just bunch of savages.
Which is issue number 2. Issue 2. You're jumping the gun. Hold on. Issue 2. Demographics. Okay. During his answering of the education question, as we are all addressing, Pat Conahan brought up the issue of a change in the demographics of Bayonne. He was the only candidate to address the change of demographics, and there's no doubt that it is changing.
It's definitely true.
He also seemed to indicate that the recent failures of the education system to meet state averages are not the fault of the administration, but of the parents and then children of those certain demographics. What do you think of this? I ask you, Elizabeth Mohammed.
Well, I like Mr. Conahan in that he was honest.
Right.
Okay, no political correctness there. I don't like that. I like you to be blatantly honest. And he's just being himself, so I appreciate that. However, he mentioned change in demographics, and it's true. But with that comes responsibility on both sides. On the educational side, the teachers, they have to know how to deal with this diverse bunch. They have to know how to teach, really get back to the basics. I think we've really gone away from it. And so we have to get back to the basics. We have to, they have to know how to connect to this changing group, how to get them, you know, initiate them, keep them riveted to want to learn. And then the parents, on the other hand, they have to feel that they want their opinions are wanted, and they have to feel that they're encouraged to participate, but I don't think they're given that encouragement. So again, it goes both ways in the educational system.
We've always had changing demographics in Bayonne. Bayonne has been a changing demographic pretty much since its inception. A lot of the money that we spent go to things like solar panels, go to things like...
Isn't that grant money, though?
Some of it is, but not all of it.
Sorry, just turned. Sorry about that.
That's all right. That's okay. You know, a little slight interruption. You know, we're going to air it as is. So there you go. Go ahead.
I mean, we're buying things. We're building schools. We're buying things like buildings to repair buses in. There are more buses than I've ever seen in Bayonne, and I'm really not sure why. And we're really spending money on other things and not the changing demographics, how to address those things effectively so that our school system is more competitive with the state average. I mean, the state average is a simple like 1470 or 1480 out of 2,400.
Is that it?
That's low.
Now, what are you talking about?
SATs.
Uh-huh.
And yet in Bayonne, we're at 1345, well below the state average. And the state average is not that high when you consider a perfect score being 2,400. And to even be thought of as Ivy League, you have to have a 2,200. So changing demographics or not, we still need to address the needs of all the demographics, not the select few, not, you know, not any one class of children, but the average student as well. And I think that we have some wonderful programs for gifted children, we have wonderful programs for disabled children, for challenged children, but our average scores are not good. That means our average students are just not making it. And it's money.
And the question for most of probably most of the voters this election year, particularly because of our budget, would be can we affect change in the education system without affecting our budget? Can we make the changes we need to? Is the education system really top heavy? I hear some people say that. Some candidates have asked about the amount of...
When I went to school, we had one vice principal. Now there's 6.
Yeah.
And there's less students. We had 3,000 students. Now there's 2,200 students. They really need 6 vice principals in high school?
Well,
what do they do, these people?
And the dollar values these people are bringing in.
At over $100,000 a year?
Yeah, the dollar value, and we don't even see the perks.
Change in demographics. 2 points I wanted to bring out. To me, number one, when they say minorities, I don't like that term because we're no longer we're not minorities. Our numbers are more. It's no longer Eurocentric or European Americans. That's the change in demographics right there. You're dealing with people of color. Okay? Now look at the educational system. Why don't we have more teachers that are people of color? You mean to say they're not qualified? We don't have qualified people? And if we brought the changes, the change in demographics into the teaching system, I think we're going to see a little bit
but they're
better
not
output.
Related. That's why you're not seeing a lot of teachers of color.
All right.
They're not
Nepotism
related.
that goes on in the Board of Ed, is that it?
A little
All
bit.
right.
Or how many of them go into the teaching profession? I don't know.
I don't know. That I don't know. That was
So
certainly a snide remark on my
to,
part.
to summarize that, then what we're saying is that we need to have the demographics of the administration and of the teachers particularly begin to match the demographics of the population that are attending school right now.
That would make sense, but that's a good start.
All right, we have to get out of that issue and we'll move on to the next.